another partner. So that's why. Welcome everyone. Peter, welcome. For today's community call, we will be talking about Gnosis Chain, basically Gnosis Builders, what you have built, about the overview on computing that is needed, and on the validator nodes, this decentralization dashboard. That is super interesting for us. So I will just let you run with it. Give us as much as info as you can. I will certainly ask questions. But what I'd love to find out is basically how we could be calculating the real-time carbon emissions of the proof of stake, of the validations, of the computing of Gnosis Chain. It is small anyways, but I believe with this we can actually showcase the real benefit of bringing high granular, high resolution solar carbon credits on chain, because we could match this whole computing and carbon emissions of a Gnosis chain by actually using carbon credits that are on Gnosis chain. So this is my favorite scenario. We will need to build it out. So today we have you as a first. Join these community calls, and I'll let you go, and then after that, I will share a bit more what other partners I would need to pull this off for calculating the hourly carbon emissions. But then, as you know, the Unity crypto solar credits are already on Gnosis Chain and are waiting to showcase their beautiful metadata. Good. I stop sharing. You can share your screen, Pete, and
very good.
with insights. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Seb. No, I'll just give a quick introduction onto who we are, and then I'll crack into our validator network and some statistics behind that we've used to calculate, the amount of machines that are used on the validator network, and see if we can work from there. So let me start with a very brief overview. We were one of the first altcoins, the first one to use AI. We're a fork of the Ethereum chain. We've stayed very close to the Ethereum roadmap. We've also now merged with XDAI, which is a stable coin. So we have the Gnosis chain and we have our XDAI stable coin on chain as well. We've followed the Ethereum roadmap in that we've moved from proof of work to proof of stake. So we now have a consensus layer to match Ethereum. That was delivered December last year. Our aim is to be the most decentralized and well, we'll get to the Nakamoto coefficients in a bit, of spreading our network geographically and also in different cloud computing hands as well. So we're very passionate about onboarding people from countries which don't normally run validator nodes and being run on existing hardware, small cloud providers, anything that we can do to decentralize from, say, United States and Europe and Google and Amazon. So that makes our chain a lot more credible if we're a lot more spread out. So it's a huge push from us. We've just released our geographic diversity program, as I mentioned. So we're currently doing bounties of around $700 for running a validator node in countries where there are currently less than 5 validators. So we're talking about India, Africa, Southeast Asia, that kind of area. We just had one guy come on from Kazakhstan yesterday. We were very pleased about. It was our first.
Cool. So you have real-time insights of the growing diversity of.
Oh yes, I'll bring all that up, Septim. Absolutely, cool, yeah, of course. Yeah, these are the kind of monies that we're offering for people to put these validators up in areas that have not traditionally been hotspots for our network. So I think around $700 at the top end there to run one of these validators to anyone who's willing to do so in these areas. We've got a website. You can check which regions are valid and if you're inside them with your IP. So yeah, as I was saying, we had our chain merged December last year. So that moved us to the proof of stake model. So yeah, obviously that brings down our carbon emissions a great deal, as we're no longer proof of work. We're not asking people to burn their graphics cards out anymore. It's simply, if you have 10 Gnosis, you have 10 votes. If you have 1 Gnosis, you have 1 vote. It's and the network works fully decentralized. There's no central point. Everything's voted as a validator network.
Cool. Can you tell a bit to Beacon Chain for those of us who are not in the in the weeds of validating and
Sure.
Ethereum ecosystem?
Yeah, we don't do the voting and consensus on say the main chain. We have a secondary chain which Sebden says is our consensus layer. This is all for voting and monitoring the network, and it's called the Beacon Chain. And our most popular app to manage that is Lighthouse, although there is several other options such as Nevermind, but Lighthouse is the original Ethereum Beacon Chain client. So a lot of probably about half our validators use that, and the other half are on mixed, I would say. So yeah, the Beacon Chain gives us consensus across the network. We have no influence over which way people vote. Obviously, it's up to the validators to vote on the consensus layer, fully decentralized and with no central point of failure to make decisions for the future of our network. We currently require a single Gnosis to join the network. You buy one Gnosis coin, put that into the validator node, which will need to be on a reasonably decent computer, and then that can just tick away. But old legacy hardware, we really like people to use. If you've got something laying around, you can easily turn that into a validator node, which will provide an APR of about 20%, as well as the predicted gains on the Gnosis token. So yeah, these are the kind of specs of the machines you could potentially run a validator from. We have this is sort of a cheap machine that could run a single node. That is actually a lot more efficient to take a slightly larger machine and then run 5, 10, 50, however many you want validators on this larger box. That's obviously better for the environment, and it's no problem for us at all, to have a few validators on a single box. So you get the same returns and a lot less outlay from the hardware if you can manage running more than one validator on a box here. And yeah, obviously we mentioned AWS and GCP are the main cloud providers, and as well as DigitalOcean and Azure, but we recommend that you use a local cloud provider. Not only are they cheaper, but that helps us decentralize our network. So we always recommend just look for the cheapest local option. You don't need some super box to run these validators. It's all you have to run is the beacon and the chain itself. And it's 2 validators, and it can be done in a quite lightweight fashion, which hopefully I can demonstrate now. We won't do DApp node today, Sebna.
Very cool, very cool. So like from my perspective, the information that we'd need to get started with the calculations or onboard a partner who can do the calculations on the carbon emissions. These would be like the cloud providers and the hardware specification that you just shared. I think we can get pretty well the electricity consumption to that, and I will explain in a bit how we can take it from there. So we have time. If you would like to share a bit more, certainly, but we could also go to the dashboard and do a little bit of browsing through the dashboard.
Sure. I've just got a little array of links here that I'd like to share. We have Gnosis Faucet here. This can provide developers with Gnosis Chain or XDAI, both of our stable token or our main token. And you can get a small percentage of a token for free if you wish to develop smart contracts or just begin trying our network. We're also now offering free NFTs on the Gnosis Chain. We have a wallet which interfaces to our chain, but MetaMask is perfectly fine. You can watch on our Twitter, Gnosis.builders at Twitter, and we're constantly releasing new NFTs. Every time we release, the first one released, I think we maybe shipped 400, and then our latest release has been 40,000. So it is catching on. Whether it will be a collector's item in the future, I can't guarantee, but well, they are free, so this is our NFT drops anyway. And then this is for the VIP program, as we really do encourage geographic diversity here at Gnosis. And you can just enter your public key, and there's another site you can enter your IP to see if you are viable for the bounties for running it in an unusual location to the network. Then if someone did want to become a validator, what we recommend is coming over to validatenosis.com.
Oh,
This
that's
is
cool.
going to give you a click for, just what you're familiar with, what you're not. And it's going to give you a tutorial, not only to set up the stake and set up the validator node, but also how to get the Gnosis, how to get the milli Gnosis, every step you would need to take to get through these guys. Yeah.
That's so cool. When we started making our decision which chain and so on, and we went for Gnosis chain, all of this info wasn't there yet.
Yes, it's quite recent.
I was looking for info to get the stakeholders on board and so on, and we basically a bit of a gut feeling and a bit of knowing that it could grow into this. We started, and ever since Gnosis Builders are live, there is a huge difference. So
Thanks.
congrats on that. Super cool.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the guides online are for Ethereum, obviously, and a lot of that does just play along with us. But there's several gotchas, and it's nice to have them all documented because we do have some small differences to the Ethereum chain, of course. And yeah, when people stake on their validators, we split a Gnosis token into 32 parts. These are known as milli Gnosis, and you're able to exchange a Gnosis for milli Gnosis to deposit onto a validator node here, and then all your rewards will be paid in milli Gnosis to the validator. If you want to swap those into Gnosis tokens to then take them to the exchange or whatever you want to do with them, again, we have this page here just to switch between the milli Gnosis and the standard Gnosis
So
token.
the milli Gnosis are wrapped Gnosis and they're on Gnosis chain, or okay?
They are. Yeah, they're wrapped in it. Yeah, it's a 132 for the Gnosis token.
Okay.
And they exchange for free with no gas fees in between the two.
Okay.
And we pay all our rewards in milli.
All right.
I'm going to just highlight Stereo as well, as it probably is the best way at the moment to deploy a Gnosis validator node. They have kind of a mushroom theme, and you can come here and get their downloader. It just sits on your local machine, on your MacBook or whatever, and then it will connect to the server that you set up, and then it's going to make a validator for you straight away, which I'll just demonstrate because it's ever so quick.
Cool.
So I just built this server this morning on AWS. I didn't do anything to it. It's totally blank. That's my root password. Don't hack me, please. So you just log straight into the server with root from the Stereo client, and this is running locally on my Mac. And that's going to connect directly into the AWS server. And then, you can have a bit of a custom install here, but what we recommend is the one-click installation. And then as soon as you click that, take us onto Gnosis, because this was originally developed for Ethereum, but they've kindly added Gnosis to the configuration. So yeah, you see I just made a few clicks there, and it's getting Lighthouse, as Sebna mentioned, for our consensus layer. Nevermind manages the chain itself. Prometheus is monitoring. Grafana then draws that monitoring, and Node Exporter allows you to do some clever things with wallets and payments and that kind of thing. So it's got the full pack, all Dockerized, and it's just going to install those straight onto a fresh box. And I've done absolutely nothing, and it's off. So within a couple of hours, I'll be validating on the Gnosis network from this. It's just one click.
All right. See, that's painless.
Yeah, painless. Yes, I recommend it even more than the guides on how to set up your own validator.
All right.
Yeah, Steren's a great choice. Okay, so that's kind of how to get set up on the validator network. And next, I'll come and take a look at some of the statistics we draw from our network to inform us about how everything's going. So our most popular site is D14N. So this is counting our active validators. I'd like to mention that this is the largest number of validators after Ethereum. We're third after Bitcoin and Ethereum, so we have a very large validator network. And these are bundled into node pools as well. Some people join their validators together into a larger thing. And we can see that there's currently, you know, what would that be? Like quite a bit of money locked in the system. Yeah.
Okay, so the nodes are the computers or the servers that are running, like the boxes.
The validators are the boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, and the nodes, I'll demonstrate in a little bit that some people group their validators together into what we call a node pool, and that gives them some additional voting rights. You can either join an existing node pool, or you can validate on your own. There's no fees either way, or it's just it's a personal preference of who you want to be validating for. As we were saying, we're trying to spread out our countrywide graph here. We've got a few little dots moving out, so you've got a huge amount of centralization in Europe. Our founder's German.
That's actually already good, like because I remember some comment by the SEC saying Ethereum is mostly run in US, so it falls under their jurisdiction.
Oh, okay. Well, we might need this then. Yeah.
So
I hope I won't be in the courts with this
we
map.
wouldn't have that.
I'd be in the German courts instead. Yeah.
Overreach. Yeah, like decentralization is absolutely important, and then
That's
also.
fine. Yeah, but you can see we've got a lot of European countries trending here. But as I say, I've got a guy on board today from Kenya who's setting up 10 validators for us out there. We had a guy from Kazakhstan this week. And so, yeah, we're offering these bounties, and we're just trying to encourage. We have lots of different regional outreach as well to try and get people on board.
Super cool. Yeah. Very, very cool.
As we were saying, Lighthouse does most of our consensus work. I said 50% is actually 65. And then we've got a mix of some other clients here being used. See, our graph is red here. It's not happy everyone's using Lighthouse, but the product's too good. We need a new product to come out, hopefully. And yeah, these are the guys with pools. Stakewise is our largest pool. They're operating out of Europe. And yeah, you're welcome to join these guys' pools that exist, but there's no additional benefits. You would get just the same returns for validating on your own. Here it has a look. So this might be of interest to you, Sebnem. It does take a look actually at the cloud service providers breakdown, so we can see kind of who's using what in a kind of large scale. So we could probably estimate some carbon emissions from these different providers, couldn't we, and as a percentage for our validator nodes.
So like there are the ones using cloud providers, and there are ones really running nodes at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And all of them because of the IP, like where they're located because of the IP. So if you look at nodes and locations, they might be using cloud.
So we can't obviously tell if someone's just got a random machine and started using it. We wouldn't have any details on what that machine is, but this yellow bar at the top is everyone who's using just random machines, and we can't trace those. Well, I mean, we can trace their IPs, but we couldn't tell you what they're on. But we could definitely tell you the average spec for a box for these home validators. And then this is a breakdown of the cloud providers. Yeah.
But the locations, like also the orange bar, like any nodes locations is also tracked. Like if you look at the nodes and the distributions, they are all included, or is it just the cloud service providers?
Yeah, we don't know the exact machines, but we do know their locations. We've got a great new piece coming out in a couple of weeks, which has got some real good details. You can drill into some more details on people's machines that they're willing to share with us, because there is an option to display. So we have got some more data coming in, but I think this is a decent start. But I'll show some more websites that we've got going.
Metrics, always good.
Yeah. This is the overview of the network. So this is a bit more of a broader view of the network. Instead of just the validators, we're talking about sort of big picture numbers that are currently running on the Gnosis network. Also, we can dig into latest transactions for the day, month, year, as you wish, who's using it, why they're using it. Most active accounts. Yeah, and we have some more drill downs coming soon. We just invested in a new Elasticsearch database, which is able to sort of index a lot more data about people. So I've seen it; it's working. I think it'll go live in a couple of weeks. So have
like
some more details.
everything is on chain, but then making that information accessible is still needed, because else everyone needs to do their own queries and so on. So this is also a really
it's a lot of data to aggregate. So hopefully people can aggregate off our aggregations. We hope to be useful. This is one of our latest ones. You can see the DNS hasn't been set up yet because it's quite new. But this is looking at these are the pool guys. So we've got the 52 pools. These are the people that are pooling together to use their consensus layer as a group rather than an individual. It also has a look at errors, so people that are missing blocks from the validators. You do have your rewards reduced if you miss blocks, like it is counted. We call it slashing reduction. Yeah, inactive validators here. These are the committees that are voting together. Rewards earned across the day, month and year. So lots more information, and this is going to be released under gnosisPools.info quite soon.
Super cool.
Within a few days.
Like, I'm a newbie at this level. I'm a computer scientist specialized in peer-to-peer protocols. But newbie at this level. It's like literally coming from a new world, this whole crypto and cryptography based ledgers. So slashing based on missed blocks, what is the reason for missing blocks? Is it because
downtime?
Running software?
Yeah. Well, either they had an error or their box was down. Yeah, but for some reason or the other, it didn't validate. With Stereo and with many others, I mean, you can get the Grafana alerts. Yeah, you see, it's nearly set the alert, the node up already. It's just syncing. You can have these go to Telegram. You can have them go into whatever you prefer, Messenger. So if your node does come down, it's going to automatically email you, text you, whatever you need. Okay. Yeah. So if there is any issues, yeah, people normally run out of hard disk space. It's not only the issue, but yeah. Well, just finally advertise our website. Hey, it's Gnosis Builders. And if anyone's interested in building on the Gnosis chain, please be in touch with us here. We're always open to new proposals and have plenty of funding as well.
Yeah, fantastic. So let's see if there are some questions from people who joined in. I know Ravi wanted to reach out, say hi to Gnosis Builders. Ravi is from MagicPowered, and we have been collaborating long time, and also on YC Finance in building the design, basically everything for the MVP.
I'm surprised by the lack of, I guess, decentralization on the Gnosis chain in some way. This dashboard is pretty interesting. And then,
do you mean geographical?
And not just geographically, also in terms of the number of staking pools, number of kind of validator clients. I think that particular piece was surprising to me.
Yeah, stablecoins do have a large investment. But I mean, they have been invested since basically the creation of the chain. So yeah, they are our largest investor, but we don't have any other large pools outside of Stakeboys, really.
Is it any different on Ethereum? Because I imagine that
it's much worse. It's much worse in my opinion. Yeah, it's huge, absolutely vast pools that take over in Ethereum. Yeah.
Like it's really about usability again, right? If these services are usable, people are going to choose them. So it's not just about diversifying, but about increasing the usability of other services as well. So I think again, if that's of importance, right?
Peter, do you know what the percentage of staked tokens versus tokens in circulation is? Just out of curiosity.
I don't, chat, but we could work it out. What can we do? Can someone find out the amount of tokens we have? Anyone want to go crypto market cap, and I'll put the number up. what can we do? P14.
I think that's an
Yeah,
interesting dynamic, isn't it?
stake-wise,
Liquidity versus kind of the focus on decentralization.
yeah. Well, it would be that divided by how many we have in circulation, I assume. Yeah, I mean, stake-wise it is a compounding asset, so we pay the rewards, and stake-wise don't, they don't cash the tokens, they reinvest in our network and produce more validator nodes. And we're hoping that other people will start small, maybe start off with 1 and then get 10 and then get 100 and can start to compete with them. But with a decentralized network, you can't really tell people no either.
No.
how would we limit Stakewise's influence? You'd have to let me know.
Well, Sebnem, what about the staking platform? I think
No, I have not. I think, Pete, I don't know if you have to jump off now, but maybe we can have another session on the staking platform, because that's also interesting for us. For example, since we're on Gnosis Chain, basically when we could get people who have and have stakes, who would like to share their rewards with building applications like ours. MagicPowered has a solution for that. It's a really nice platform. Maybe you can share the link.
I did. I dropped it in the chat.
You dropped it. I will share. But that could be another topic that we can have. Could be of interest to Gnosis builders.
That sounds good, Stefan. I'm happy to come back next week, as you say. Happy to come back next week.
I will. Like, literally, if you can drop by a half hour to exchange on these topics, because we have a lot of interest to build broader or deeper roots on Gnosis Chain, and just looking to learn more. What are the value add that we can bring, but also what can we connect to actually make that value flow. Super cool.
I think Peter, I'm if I understand correctly, your background is DevOps, right?
I'm DevOps at Gnosis Builders.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So this staking platform, actually, the interesting thing is that it's essentially DevOps automation, and it's pretty chain agnostic, because the smart contract layer is extremely light. So bridging over to another chain is pretty simple, but it's like what you said exactly. How do you incentivize people to stake with other?
We've got some ideas coming. Yeah, we've got quite a bit in the pipeline. We're just starting with our geographic diversity program to start with, as that was our first push. But yeah, the upper management of Gnosis, the constant focus on decentralization and trying to spread out as much as possible, because if people don't view us as viable, it's no good for us. So we need to to decentralize as much as possible.
Yeah, with respect to that, also a question, like, I think it becomes more and more visible, but there's definitely also focus on actually getting main protocols or main apps from Ethereum, from mainnet, also be on Gnosis Chain, right? Like with Balancer and so on, it took a while, but now that they're there, do you know any other ones coming?
I'm just gonna have to go into my my bits and pieces here.
Also, I promised I will let Pete jump off, because they have a deployment coming.
So we've got Web3 evangelists here, Sebnem, and can have a look at the different apps that are now being built on the Gnosis chain. And I would say a good third of them are ports from the Ethereum chain, which is very nice that we do have that compatibility. And yeah, just as Ravi was saying on the DevOps side of it, all our validator work and apps that we put out, we're trying to do them in Docker composers, because you've got the execution client, you've got the consensus client, you've got the validator client, you've got monitoring alert, you've got a lot going on here for non-technical people. So we always bundle everything, so it's a one-click deployment, and you get all that power without really having to be a sysadmin or know anything about it. Yeah,
perfect.
That's super cool.
Ravi, we make another call just for that. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if
Good.
Peter wants to spend that time, I will not.
Super
I
cool.
will. Yeah, I'm all for it.
Good. Then
Yeah, I'll come back next week, guys. Yeah.
yeah, let me share a bit then on actually like today's topic. Now that we know, let me share my screen. Super cool. Thank you so much, Pete, for sharing everything. I will basically do a recap, more or less, and then discuss what we need to actually do these calculations and real-time offsetting, or even real-time matching of solar power with your local nodes that are running. So that's quite interesting. Again, as mentioned, like the information that we need, you already have here about nodes, where they are running, because their nodes electricity consumption is depending on the machine, etc. But there we can take some standard numbers, but also big chunk of the information on carbon emissions will come from the energy mix of that location. For example, Germany is actually very dirty. Although we are the exporters of all these renewable energy innovations, we have a lot of coal power, and also power from Eastern Europe is all coal. So here basically what we use is electricity maps data for calculating the carbon emissions avoidance by solar power production. Okay, so for example, here you can see in real time, France is always green because of the nuclear power. But if you would calculate, waste management of nuclear power, then it would be infinitely costly. But if you just look at carbon, for example, France looks good. Currently Spain, Portugal look good because there's a lot of renewables, mostly wind, some solar, and so on. But Germany is always due to our own carbon or coal-powered plants that are still up, and also a lot of the neighbors that have a lot more coal power plants, like the carbon intensity and nodes running in Poland and so on. This information defines the carbon intensity. Now, this we can couple with the information we have here, where the nodes are running, how much of those nodes are running there, and then likely what are their specification. The specs of these, basically, Hetzner is a German cloud provider, DigitalOcean, etc. We can have the specs from them. It's available, and as Pete said, like all these other nodes that are homestakers, basically there we can also get those standard assumptions, and basically combined with where the nodes are located, looking at the carbon intensity of that location, we can basically get a much higher resolution of the carbon emissions of the computation. And what we have is on YC Finance, we have, again, this is our MVP, but Unergy is a solar asset manager, started in Switzerland, and they are, or we are, I'm helping them to come to Germany, so we're scaling to Europe. And in Spain, they already have even more projects in Portugal, but Portugal is the first one. We're going to connect directly the solar power pool, the project pools directly to YC Finance. And we have, for our MVP, we went full focus onto these UK solar projects, which are all community project schools with solar rooftops, and just 57 of them. We use that to connect to the data, to analyze the data, to see what could go wrong and how we're going to basically improve that improve the data quality? How are we going to open it up with block science labs to data scientists, data analysts, and then people doing simulations to actually have a community-based validation of data? So that's super important. That's one big aspect of this whole connections. But once we have this data that directly goes into the carbon credits metadata, which is stored on IPFS, and the token itself, the BioCO2 NFTs are on chain, on Gnosis Chain, already live since December. As said, we're doing this MVP with the United Kingdom project. But the main focus is actually to fund more solar from these carbon offset sales or credit sales. With that revenue, fund more solar and basically reward all people who participate, especially offsetters, as well with participation in the newly funded solar, meaning the YC token, the revenue share, but also 100% of the carbon value of these newly funded solar projects will go to the community, to the people who participate, use these protocols. And using it means basically either you can directly fund solar and get the benefits, or you use carbon credits, solar credits from existing solar projects that we can connect to. So, and directly on chain. So here, again, you can look into the various paths to get in and what you will get once you're in. But this carbon credits that are high resolution, meaning in UK we have even down to 30-minute resolution, but everywhere else using electricity maps data, we will have 60-minute resolution into the computing. And I think I share it in the refi. Yes, I don't share it here, but I shared also in our refi and Web3 basics module of the YC Unity Crypto School, how we use this data, and yeah, and what is the methodology, and then also why we should go down to 60 minutes data, because otherwise, especially as you know, someone who wants to offset, or an organization who wants to offset their carbon emission from electricity consumption, I can also share the link. There is always the issue if you use annualized and annual numbers, and you only you know, buy the batch commodity credits annually, then you're basically off in your calculations of your carbon inventory by 35%. Let me find that. I think it was here, the link as well. So if you're also interested, on our YouTube channel, you will find the previous Unity Crypto School sessions where we dug into regenerative finance and also Web3 basics. In Web3 basics, I share a lot about Gnosis Chain as well, since we're on it, but also because I believe it's, especially now, one of the best ecosystems to join in when you're just joining or entering. And here in the refi sessions, yeah, it's all about how do you calculate carbon emissions, how do you calculate it through carbon emissions avoidance. And yeah, this is how the method that we use. It's purely data driven and it's localized. And here, yes, this is the link that I wanted to share. You can also see the study here, hourly accounting, and why that is needed. Because basically, you will over or underestimate the carbon inventories by as much as 35%. Now, we have another I believe, incentive alignment with Gnosis Chain, using hourly offsets or hourly matching of the electricity consumption and matching it with solar injection or solar power injection at the location where consumption happens. So we're not in Mexico yet, but definitely, you know, we are already in Spain. Portugal is our go-to location, actually. Strange, why isn't that here? Portugal, these 30 nodes we could conceptually, and actually we could actually, I believe, do a matching of electricity consumption or matching of the carbon credits from solar power directly for these 30 as a proof of concept, but also depending on what is the entire consumption and entire CO2 emissions, what does the community want, how do they want to offset, how do they want to use it. Again, there can be various, like they could use monthly, weekly offsets. That would be still interesting, because it's on chain. Right now, I think Gnosis Chain has only the offset round. Yeah. They have done this. I think it's past consumptions. I don't know if that's also, it's quite a lot compared to a proof of stakes carbon footprint. So it could also be a little bit 10 times their organizational footprint could be. So again, for us, because we're on chain and we are providing high granular data in the carbon credits, it is super interesting to actually do a small but real-time and location-based offsetting. And since we have a computing or a carbon emitter right where we are, this is quite an interesting case for us to show. Now, however, as mentioned, Unergy is a solar asset manager, and Unity Crypto is an alternative finance solution that is Web3 native. So we don't actually do carbon emissions calculations, but I did some research and I find the carbon ratings group super interesting. I don't know if anyone knows them. I will definitely reach out. I've been stalking them for some time now, and now that they have a clear offering, I think we can reach out to them. They do, for example, carbon emissions calculations. They did it for Polygon, but others, as you see, and they have an API, so we could connect that directly. As far as I understood, they have a method, how to calculate the electricity consumption, and based on that, the carbon footprint of proof of stake networks. It seems that, for example, if Gnosis Chain is going to use it, for the public good or for the public interest, definitely non-commercial, and likely also make it available for others, and that could be free. So I will find that out, or we can go into a collaboration with CCRI. But definitely once that information, I'm imagining that this dashboard could connect to the API of Carbon Credits Ratings Institute. And from there, we could have that information. What is the current CO2 emissions of these 335 nodes in Germany, in United States, and so on. The thing, again, the information that they use, again, here you can see Ethereum, and here the flat lines are the ones that use proof of stake. I looked into why they are so flat, and these are a bit more information centric, or more information available, and that's because for Polygon and so on, they use the average carbon emission intensity of electricity worldwide. So that's a very rough number, and it's always the same. But for Ethereum proof of stake, they used megalabs.es, which is the same overview or a similar overview for Ethereum, right? A similar overview for Ethereum, like we have by Gnosis Builders, like this decentralization.info or D14N info and the other metrics. So yeah, so I believe they would have the capability to connect to the information from this dashboard and actually calculate or add this information to their indices. That we also have a Gnosis Chain carbon emissions info here, and we can then use this information to actually offset, or we can use this information and Gnosis Chain can offset directly on Gnosis Chain their carbon emissions using solar credits that we put on Gnosis Chain. So again, like that's my geek heart opens up here, but of course, compared to the whole, carbon emissions business or the market, I have to call it visual thinking, as that we have this traceability, but this commodity that you can just trade around. I don't see how that is ever going to create the right incentives to go greener. But if we can actually match, solar power with the carbon footprint of a polluter, of a user, right? If we can match that, and from that revenue, we actually build new solar as a community and share those values back with the, again, we're all polluters as long as we're using electricity, and that's not entirely provided by renewables. We need to offset that amount somehow. So this is the rough outline, very rough outline. We have all the information that we need. I think definitely I would like to bring in carbon ratings that come as contributors, collaborators. I will reach out to them. What else? Yes, like it's a really cool organization as far as I can tell. I don't know if anyone knows them or sees CRI. If you see this, definitely hit me up. Soul Sister on Telegram or on Twitter. Chat me. Good. This would be it again. What else can I show? And exactly, like we have this limited edition YCO2 sales right now, which is available from the UK solar rooftops. And with those carbon credits, again, with the revenues from those carbon credits, we want to create the deployment and maybe, fund these pilots and then projects where we showcase real use cases of solar matching or solar credits for incentivizing going greener and basically offsetting what you cannot reduce. And by those revenues, by doing so, by offsetting, you're actually contributing to funding more solar. And that's the reward flywheel, let me put it that way, that, offsetters, or I call them also initial public offsetters who join the community, use this protocol to offset what they cannot reduce. They are part of also deciding which pools to fund next. Of course, in the beginning, we have a limited range, like Portugal, Spain, we are already, Germany, we're starting. Those are the areas where people can actually choose to fund. And once new solar projects are funded, again, those who have contributed and who have used the protocol will get the rewards as YC airdrops from this newly funded solar. And YC airdrops or YC token holding means you get 50% of the revenue share from new solar, as well as the 100% of the carbon value or solar credit value. So basically that is compounding, and you might be holding YC tokens and entirely be net zero by your token holdings, because you will also get the YCO2 credits from the newly funded solar. Good. I think this is it. Our accounting of carbon emissions from electricity consumption. Again, this is a whole article that shows why. And with respect to pricing, that's another big issue. As you might know, we have this 100x time now campaign, which means the high in the MVP, like in these limited edition carbon credits, the high resolution credits go for 125 x time, and the reason for that is the following. Yeah, the reason for that is the following. Namely, number one, it's an A/B test, but also it's a campaign to point out that these cheap credits are not providing any incentive other than covering yourself cheaply to actually wash yourself green, but you cannot show where the money is going. But once we have all smart contracts on chain, we have a trace also on Gnosis Chain, where the revenues from your offsetting goes into, namely into funding more solar, and you get the reward. So using the smart contracts and composing them accordingly actually offers us a way to create incentives to fund more solar, right? And the price that we chose is literally because everyone says so. Listen to the scientists. Right, the carbon credits, if they should have any effects, any incentives for going net zero, they must be priced at least $100 per ton to reach net zero by 2050. Everything else is a farce. And yeah, that's why we have the campaign 100x die now to also show that those those flows should flow on chain for traceability. Yeah, maybe here again. Yeah, the refi module of the Unity Crypto Carbon, Unity Crypto School definitely gives good insights into this whole carbon credit business. And we're doing our best to show what are the real use cases of this high resolution carbon credits minted on chain. Why? Because we can compose and trace both the offset as well as the revenues, and prove that through using carbon credits, you're not just offsetting your past emissions, but actually you're contributing to replace fossil fuel power grids more and more through solar power production and used and infused into those power grids where the nodes are. So I believe this is one of those killer scenarios that the geeks will appreciate. But then definitely also once it's been showcased, we will definitely gather more understanding about, okay, this is why you use smart contracts and blockchain to actually transact these values on chain that are less visible and less used to being transacted. Good. That is from our side, from this community call. Do you have any questions? Or you want to say hi also, Thomas? Good to see you or hear you.
Hi. Yeah, I thought I'd pop in. I saw your post on the community channel, and
Yes.
I was curious what you did in, I don't know, half a year or.
Yeah, 9 months, 10 months exactly. Again, we're definitely in the MVP stage where we can show usage. But it's quite interesting. You know, on one hand you have the facts and the data and the contracts on chain, but the whole narrative around it, right? That's you can tell one story or the other, and it really, maybe that's also the power of using tokenization, that you don't have just one product, but it can be composed differently. Different users can give it a different use value. So Gnosis Chain is one use case. The other one, next week, definitely invite all of you also next week with CrowdMuse. What they do is sustainable fashion, community drops, also, you know, not mass production, but really limited editions of these designs. And each design drop has actually what I would call value tags, right? Where you don't have digital value tags, where you can say, okay, zero waste design pattern, and you can actually prove the design pattern that literally creates a garment, a t-shirt or so, that from its design doesn't produce any leftovers. So, and then also, for example, add another value tag, which would be produced with Portuguese sun, or in that manufacturing where Unity has solar rooftops. So again, and then the same contract, the MyCO2 contract, is not a credit, carbon credit or carbon offset credit, but actually it's proof of solar power used, right? And that's basically the same token, the same data, the same value, solar power produced and used. And on one side, you can use it as an offset. For example, as we are discussing with Gnosis Chain, to prove on-chain emissions are being matched, or emissions on-chain are being matched. And on the other hand, for this whole sustainable fashion industry and players, it becomes an additional value tag of the garment that it was produced with clean energy, not causing, or 80% solar energy, and hence improving the sustainability or carbon footprint of the garment itself. Again, I think we are just in the beginning.
I certainly think so too. So especially if you're talking about carbon offsets and carbon credits, when you speak up and saying, well, most of it is not reducing any emissions, I totally agree. So it's kind of, okay, selling something on chain, making it tradable, and then kind of spurring the speculation on it, and that's the usual thing what I observe. I stopped kind of calling it out because it's not always good to be the evil person in the room.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do think, like, we should not call it out also, but we should point to it, like, what do you have from all that trading on chain? You don't even get the right price. You know, that's not price finding. Apparently something isn't working in that mechanism. So
I mean, also, if you look at the voluntary markets, voluntary carbon markets, they're so cheap. This is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's like $1 or even less, or maybe $2 for what should cost at least 100, as you said, and maybe more. So everything there is, in my opinion, like, okay, this is more the greenwashing area.
Mhm.
And of course, you know, it's like if somebody's protecting some forest, which would maybe be cut down, it still has a positive effect. But at the end of the day, if we continue in that speed, even 2100 or 2100 won't be the right time frame to get finally to zero carbon.
You're right.
So,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's I think it's very important to have projects which really aim for reducing emissions. And funding solar is one of those. Funding other renewables is another one. And as we both know, the energy system is very complex. Regulation is very tough. And if you mix it with crypto, everything becomes even more difficult.
Yeah, definitely we will have, like, we're currently working on the legal side of structuring this. Again, also all the tax benefits that asset managers have locally is actually quite high. So we need to structure it appropriately so that it really pays off for everyone who participates. We always need to ask why token, why C, why crypto, Unity crypto. So again, definitely we will also have a community call purely on that, like all the trade-offs that we're making and why. This whole, like, we're on Gnosis Chain, and I always say decentralization and the second most decentralized. But when you go to the real world, and actually the real world asset is someone putting solar rooftops on someone else's rooftop, it becomes a handshake business and very traditional, and there are centralized players. But all in all, the solar industry itself is a highly distributed and decentralized business, and there are a lot of players. And again, solution providers or players like Unity that help these distributed processes, and through Unity Crypto also decentralized finance. And that is helping this decentralized solar industry to actually stay and grow in that small and medium business area, instead of trying to consolidate and get bigger. But these are, again, a lot of trade-offs. And you and I, we know that for everyone, maybe we can also have have an energy DAO session just for the Gitcoin grants, shilling, and so on. Definitely think about it. So we have collaborations.
Yeah, I should change my background for this meeting, basically. But Minerva is also in the Gitcoin round. It's in the Web3 open source. But I think I have a 7 energy background as well.
Yeah. So again, yeah, let's just get this rolling. I think every player who pushes the envelope a little bit more, what is legally possible with energy regulations and financial regulations, is going to be good. Also, we can have one on this whole unhosted wallet situation. There we really need to appeal on the European courts and stuff like this, so it won't get boring.
Yeah, it's never boring. Never boring.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you, Thomas, also for joining. It was good to see you.
Yeah, it was good to see
Ravi, we have a session on the staking platform with Gnosis Chain. I organized that happily. And I wish you a wonderful day.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.